welcome to one of RVN's newer television shows, What the Why with host Barbara Ann, also known as me. In case you're joining us for the first time, our show features conversations with diverse leaders from all walks of life about why they do what they do and how they figured it out. Maybe you're looking for something different in your life. Maybe you are sick and tired of being sick and tired. Maybe you want to change in your career or business, or you feel stuck and don't know how to get unstuck. Maybe you found us by accident, although if you watched previous episodes, you know there's no such thing as accidents. However you found us, thank you for joining us. We have our first guy today. I promised you that we would have other genders, and so today we have a gentleman joining us. Our guest today is Gene Spillane. Gene is a U.S. Army veteran and a small business lending and government contracting expert. I had the pleasure of working with Gene, and he gave me, and he doesn't even know this, what I consider to be one of the greatest endorsements and compliments that I ever received in my career. But that's not why I invited him on the show. During his 20-plus year career, Gene has served his country overseas and in the States by helping businesses obtain the capital they need to start, grow, and succeed, as well as do business with the government in the form of government contracting opportunities. During his last deployment from November 2007 to 2008, Gene served as a U.S. Army Deputy Civil Military Operations Officer in the 3rd Brigade, 4th Division, our 4th Infantry Division in Baghdad, Iraq, as part of the Sustainability Operations and Economic Development in northern Baghdad, and is that Sadr City? Sadr City. When he returned, he resumed his work in commercial lending until he joined the federal government and continued his work further in multiple capacities with the government in both contracting and in lending. He earned his BA in history from Rutgers University, Newark, and his MBA, oh, excuse me, I'm mixing these up. You got your BA from Niagara,
yes,
and you got your MBA from Rutgers, Newark, with a specialization in global business strategy and leadership. He volunteers with multiple veterans organizations and the Special Olympics. And he has a lovely family with 2 adorable twins that are growing up so quickly. So without further ado, please welcome Gene.
Oh, thank you very much, Barbara Ann. It's both a delight to be here and an honor. So thank you for having me.
And I'm so glad that you're making the time to join us. So you've done a whole lot over the course of your life. One of the signature questions of our show is, what did you want to be when you grew up?
You know, it's an excellent question. And thinking back all those years, and they're getting longer now, I was one of many kids in my family. I was one of 5. And I was all about adventure and, you know, challenges and things like that. And, you know, I had everything from astronaut to space person to all kinds of things. Yeah, but I was very unsettled all the way up to, you know, I liked history, and that's why I got my BA in history. Mm-hmm. But you know, I realized that finance was something in my late teens, and I pursued that for a while.
Okay.
But I also realized that, you know, it's actually a blessing not to have this like laser focused idea of what you want to be, because, well, life changes things, the yin and the yang, and the way the world works. And if I had this, you know, idea that I was going to be something very specific, and I got thrown off of that, that wouldn't have allowed me to, you know, enjoy all the different experiences I had.
Awesome. So for you, it was all about just go with the flow. Wherever it took you. And that would lead to opportunities, whatever they may be.
My poor parents, yes.
So, and you said you were part of a big family.
Yes.
Okay. So, you decided to go with the flow. And that led you into the service.
It did. As I look at our country, it's something that requires our participation. And it very much says that in the preamble of our Constitution and all the things. And once we participate in our country, well, we learn to love it more. And there's nothing better than the service to let you appreciate diversity. Because I might have been a kid from, northern New Jersey, but I met up with kids from Mississippi and California and Arizona, and, I'm still friends with many of them.
So you decided to be all you could be. You joined the Army. What prompted that decision?
Well, it was one of those things that I thought, hey, that's important. I mean, it was in the 80s. Mm-hmm. I got in. I did my service. Then I did my National Guard Reserve service, and then I went from being a tanker to a banker.
Okay.
So.
And you've worked with hundreds, if not thousands, of businesses in terms of their commercial lending needs.
Oh, yes.
What's one of the more memorable businesses, to the extent that you can share that information? Because I know that every once in a while you've brought up, we all have our favorites, I have to admit it. Of course, everybody that I ever made a loan to, as part of my day job, was one of my favorites. But what's one that's a little bit more memorable?
It's only a half-hour show.
True.
But one of my very favorite entrepreneurs is Mike Stedman.
Okay.
And he, just a force of nature. I hate using cliches, but he honestly is. He founded the Ironbound Boxing Academy. And I just absolutely love the Ironbound Boxing Academy. And I sat there, he graduated from Annapolis, served in the Marine Corps, and I met him in Newark. And he was literally hungry. So I took him to my friend Michael Van's wonderful little place called Smitty and Moe's. And I fed him lunch, and I listened to him. And I'll tell you, his business plan was very, very ambitious. And I was like, oh, okay. Fortunately, I learned that the most important thing is to listen. If you're not listening, you're not getting the whole story. Mm-hmm. I learned that most people only absorb 10% of what's told to them. And to kind of pull out the rest of that is brilliant. Mm-hmm. And Mike Stedman has never failed to amaze me.
Yeah. And clearly you love working with small businesses. I mean, even when you were deployed, again, the last deployment that I mentioned, you were still working in contracting and economic development with businesses. Can you talk a little bit, to the extent that you can share, about what you did when you were in Iraq?
Yes, I was a commercial banker, and I worked at a major regional bank. I was getting a nice reputation of solving problems and getting a nice book of business.
And you spoke Arabic.
Oh, no, I learned Arabic after I got a note from my uncle, all of our uncles. I fell in love with the Arabic language, so I was rolled up. I was able to jump out of airplanes again, which was nice. It was, I think, 23 years between what they call the qualification jump and what they call pay jump. And
wow.
Yeah, that was something. And it was interesting because before the deployment, I took a jump. And I was very nervous, and I was checking everything, and all the rest of that. When you go overseas and very, you know, you come back, and I think, honestly, physiologically, your brain must change, because for me, the last jump I took was the last jump before I left service. It was like walking off a school bus. It was, you know, I wasn't nervous at all. I just, you know, checked my stuff. You always check your stuff, you know, and then you just, you know, go out the door, and, you know, there you are.
And your time there wasn't easy.
My time there was very difficult. I think you're alluding to, yeah, so, you know, there are very few bankers in uniform, as you can imagine. That was pretty much me. And, you know, I wasn't young when I got, called back. I was 43 years old. I turned 44 in Sadr City, Iraq.
Wow.
Clearly, you know, you don't want to put a 44-year-old guy in a tank. So they looked at my skills and qualifications, and they made me into a civil affairs officer. I went to the John F. Kennedy Special Warfare School, learned how to work with local people, learned Arabic, and I just absolutely love Arabic. And we went to Sadr City. In 2008, you know, it was still a very, very, you know, what the Army calls a kinetic environment. Very uncomfortable, you know, lots of things going on.
Yeah.
But I was tasked to do the financing for the reconstruction of Sadr City, and I just no money. So I was able to, you know, assist my friend, good friend Brian Horine, who was the what they call the civil military operations officer there. And I was like, yeah, I got this. Let me work the backside. Let me, you know, be as good a finance guy as you could possibly have, and see if I can help you make a difference. 60 Minutes actually did a piece on it.
Wow.
Which was great, because, you know, we stopped all the kinetic things, people shooting at each other. For the most part, it was very difficult to do that. My friend John Spencer, who's actually right now being interviewed quite a lot because he learned a great deal about military operations in urban terrain.
Oh.
And he's helping the Ukrainian army, and so he's been interviewed by everyone from MSNBC to Fox News. Yeah, once they were able to kind of contain the violence, well, you know, there's got to be something to wake up to. There's got to be schools.
Right.
There's got to be potable water. There's got to be electricity. There's got to be sanitation. And in order to do that, we needed to employ people, because as soon as you have funds, you can do things like buy food and, you know.
So we're going to pick up right there.
Yeah,
we do need to take a break. I know you said that a half hour. You'd think you have plenty of time, but it's time for a break. So we'll be back with more from Gene Spillane. Welcome back to What the Why with Barbara Ann and my special guest today, Gene Spillane. And right before the break, he was telling us a little bit about how rebuilding in the area where he was deployed in Iraq is critical to ensuring continued success as part of any kind of peacekeeping effort.
Yes, yes. We were able to get businesses stood up. We were able to assist the municipality there to get schools opened up again. We were able to get the streets clean. We were able to get potable water to families. And there was that beautiful sense of normalcy, which everyone really deserves.
So at the end of your term,
yes,
other than a brief trip home, you come home and you now have twin girls.
Yes.
The kerfuffle twins.
My Abby and my Molly.
Yes, the lights of your eyes and your life. You go back into federal service, you go back into government contracting.
Well, it was interesting, because I actually got back just in time for that really terrible, the bank 2008, 2009.
The banking collapse.
The banking collapse. I was a banker, and obviously 2 young mouths to feed. I was a banker for a year. The environment completely changed. And one day I met a friend, my friend Eric Bankett, who said, and it was beautiful, he said, if you ever get tired of banking, and believe me, I was tired of banking at that moment, give me a call. I work in government contracting. So I did. What I did at Solder City was government contracting. Mm-hmm. I did $61 million of U.S. contracting, which is money well spent. Mm-hmm. Because if you think about it, that's a bunch of tanks.
Yeah.
You know.
And instead, that's businesses and families and infrastructure and the businesses that provided those services in that community as well.
And because that community, very, very little news of terrible nature comes out of that part of Iraq, mm-hmm. because they have a sense of normalcy. They know that Iraq still has the problems of a young democracy happening, but knowing that that children are able to go to school, that families, that people can have dreams. I have a family member. My interpreter, I call my brother, and he calls me his brother. His brother just got engaged, which in that culture is huge.
That
and we
is.
were all excited. And we can't wait for their wedding, So that kind of thing, that's what's important in life.
So as you're moving through the ranks of different roles within federal government, we cross paths. We're not going to share where we worked, but we worked together. Actually, I had the pleasure of hiring Gene, and he was right at the top of my list when I saw his resume. I remember our director said, this guy can't possibly be this good as he is on paper. I said, I don't know. Something tells me he is. And he turned out he was. And I mentioned at the beginning of the show that you said still to this day is one of the most meaningful compliments you ever gave me. As part of an overall statement, you said that I was a leader who managed only by necessity.
Yes.
Could you talk a little bit more about that?
Absolutely. And that was a beautiful part of your management acumen.
And I'm not doing this to get...
No, actually...
I mean, just the statement itself, because there's so many people out there that don't understand the difference between management and leadership, because they really are two parts.
Yes. Leadership is living it. You live it. Management is pushing it. George Patton had a very famous quote. He said, a leader, it's like people are like spaghetti. If you lead the spaghetti, it falls in line and it does its job. If you push spaghetti, it makes a terrible mess. And you created an example, you set a standard.
I can't believe I've never heard this quote before. I love this quote. Oh my gosh, I'm going to go find it online and turn it into a meme.
Yeah.
So you're continuing in service, and you, once a veteran, or once a service member, always a service member. There's no such thing as a former Marine or former Army. You just are retired, or you're doing other things, and you become extremely evolved in the veterans community through many different facets. Could you talk a little bit about some of the things that you've been doing in your capacity as a volunteer?
Oh my goodness. I work with Michael Bohl, who's going to be one of your guests. He and Doc Shoup have the New Jersey Veterans Network. I met them at the very beginning, at the height of the COVID hysteria. I just had a few N95 masks, and they needed masks. And I reached out to them. I said, look, I got about 50 of these things. They said, we'll take them. I met them, it was at that time when we didn't know how transmission of the virus happened. And I said, what more can I help you with? And they said, we need these, there's these little ear protectors that go behind the mask so that your ears don't get. And the first responder community, the health care community, everyone had problems with their ears because, they get rubbed raw.
Yes.
So the girls and I came up, and my wife Jen's a nurse, so she'll look at things and go, yeah, that'll work, and I know then it'll work. And we came up with something, and we mass manufactured these things because in a crisis, people want to do something. You remember all those little yellow magnets, the little yellow ribbons
and everything? Yes, I do remember those.
There's something I got to do. I'll give $1, and this was a very tangible thing. But what impressed me most about Mike, and I'm so glad he agreed to talk with you, is he's very hands-on. He has a tangible effect. So, someone lost their spouse. He's the one with the casserole, He's the one who's, the family got flooded out? Okay, I'll start calling up. I'm sure someone's got an apartment they can share. The car broke down. And that is, that's a major expense. Sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. In a particular case, we will take it to a mechanic and get that car fixed. Other cases, we will take very generous donations of cars to put those people in. And, it's just that little thing because, I believe it was Keynes who said, the economist, being poor is expensive.
Yes.
And, just taking a reliable car and getting it to somebody so they can get to work. All of a sudden, all their problems, when it comes down to an expensive repair job for their car, gone. Making sure that they had toys in the holiday season. Frank Shoup, he dressed up as Santa Claus. And I drove him around, and we made sure that the children had toys.
You made sure there was normalcy.
Yes. Yeah, that little sense of normalcy. I said it once before, and the more I think about it, the more it is. Even now, when our children are older, we are the titans in our children's lives. Everything, even the slightest ripple, they notice. So it's important to make sure that they know they are loved, that they know that they are appreciated, that they know that that you are there for them, and in turn, that love just grows exponentially. So.
And you've shown that in so many other ways. You mentioned Mike Bull. When I first approached Gene about coming on the show, he says, I've got all these people that you should be talking to. And in his humility, he was missing the point. I'm like, no, Gene, I want you to also come on to the show because you are just the kind of person who's behind the scenes. You get things done. And so you have some other folks that you've worked with, too, that are going to be coming on. Backpacks for Life is another one that you've referred.
Alexa and Brett they're just absolutely wonderful. They are brilliant, and literally they make backpacks, and these are very robust backpacks. If you buy one, you're buying two, and it's that sense of normalcy.
So you've already heard about 3 of the future guests that'll be on What the Why that are working with veterans in Jersey area and throughout the region. And believe it or not, we hit the half hour.
Oh my goodness!
We are. It's time to wrap.
Thank you for having me. And
thank you so much for taking the time to come down here from South Jersey to take the day to be here. Gene's LinkedIn contact information is going to be available So you can reach out to him through LinkedIn if you'd like to know more about what he does, and especially if you'd like to know more about how he works with small businesses that are looking to get involved in different aspects of capital and contracting. Along with Lisa and Candace and Ellen and Michelle, Elaine, Christine, and now Jean, my first guy. Jean is the latest in a line of inspirational guests that we have lined up to come on the show and talk about what they do and why they do it. Next week, our scheduled guest is Brian Van Loan, who's co-owner of Unique Hair, Jazz and Dad. He's going to be talking about how he got into hair and how he's making the transition from being Unique Hair to Unique Hair with Jazz and Dad as part of his ongoing life journey. The following week, we have another exciting guest as well, Chris Collins. Chris Collins is the owner of the Anointed Journal, a magazine that he started, or a newspaper, I guess I should say. We all make mistakes, right? So anyway, the Anointed Journal was started by Chris because he wanted to have something that published positive news in the city of Camden, and it has grown in its circulation over the course of its 2-decade history. In addition to that, he was recently elected as a council representative in the city of Camden, and he'll be here to talk about why he does what he does. As a reminder, What the Why airs on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 1 p.m. and Mondays at 3:30 p.m. And sometime late Tuesday or Wednesday, the show is also available on demand and on Roku. Thank you again for tuning in today. I hope you were inspired by the quiet but amazingly impactful Jean. And whether you're looking to make a change in your life or your business, no matter how big or small, please remember to tune in again to hear more conversations with inspirational and informational guests who wanted to make changes in their lives, got over their fears, took the leap, and made it happen.